My family member and I were having a discussion about the cognitive distortion as it relates to black on black violence, and she was telling me about an incident that happened on the train. And then during this incident, this thugged out Negro decides to push his way onto the train. He pushes past a black man in a suit, and he says, "Get the F out of my way." And he starts bickering and arguing with the guy in the suit. And he makes all sorts of terroristic threats to the black man. Now, later on during the trip, he bumps into an old white man. And he doesn't make any terroristic threats or, bullying statements to this white guy. Instead, he's buck dancing and bojangling. And he's cooning and buffooning. But I had to sit there and tell her that this is par for the course when it comes to the Afro American Negro. The black man will have all sorts of threats, bullying, intimidation, and will even act violently towards another black man. But let another white man come up. This Negro will soon turn into a docile, submissive, shuffling coon. And this is something I've seen quite a bit, and it shows me, you know, how cognitive distortion really affects the mind of the Afro American Negro. Because this wasn't only the first case where we ran into this type of dysfunction. We were on Fifth Avenue outside the public library, and this Negro comes up to us with this Yahweh is coming and pro black nonsense and getting ready to act like he's going to do something. But around the white people, he has nothing to do, he has nothing to say. And it shows me, that incident showed me there is something truly wrong, mentally ill with this Afro American Negro. He will go and make all sorts of threats and bully a black man or try to act violently towards another black man, but another white person or a non-black person will approach him with, and he has no threats. Instead, he's buck dancing, bojangling, tap dancing, and backpedaling because I believe he knows on a conscious and a subconscious level that if he engages this white man, he knows there's going to be consequences for dealing with this white man. But if he goes and engages this black man, he knows that there are no consequences for that action. So he will go out of his way to attack another black man, make threats towards another black man, and be hostile towards another black man because he knows that that black man has no recourse whenever this thugged out Negro engages him. He knows that there's no law enforcement is not going to put any consequences or any sort of penalty on his actions. But he knows if he goes after this white man, the hammer is going to come down on him, especially if he physically assaults this white man. The pretty much law enforcement is going to put a hammer on him, and he's never going to see the light of day. And this is, proven time after time whenever one of these Negroes decides to call himself assaulting a white male. Um, they can go out of it. They can go out and attack another black man, and the Negroes, no one will really care. But if this Negro, he knows on an instinctive level, if he approaches a white man or attacks a white man, that's his rear end. He's pretty much done, and they're pretty much going to throw the book at him and give him the maximum. But this was just an observation she had, but I had explained to her that this is the cognitive distortion that relates to the Afro American Negro. And this is where we see the dysfunction when it comes down to things like your Black Lives Matter movement. Because your Black Lives Matter movement will sit there and say, Black Lives Matter, but they will never protest in the face of, a black on black crime. But whenever a white person attacks a black person, then we have all this outrage, we have all these people marching and protesting, and we have all this uproar. And what my family members saw on that train was an example, of that everyday dysfunction. Your thugged out Negro will go out and make all these terroristic threats and try to attack this black man in a suit. But when this old white man comes up, he's buck dancing and bojangling and pretty much being a coon and a black buffoon and not being any threat at all. Pretty much proving, the point about this cognitive distortion that this Afro American Negro has. That there is I believe there's some sort of mental illness, permeating in the mind of many of these Afro American Negroes because they have all of this disregard for black life when it's just a plain black life. But whenever a white person is involved, then that life has some sort of value. And whenever they engage a white person, they turn into this minstrel ready to bojangle, tap dance, buck dance, and pretty much do whatever this white man wants. And that's, truly sad, because I look at this Afro American Negro and I see, a clear case of his mental dysfunction, because this, to attack the black man and then tap dance for the white man, pretty much shows, why no one should be afraid of thugs anymore. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.